Hello, welcome. I am so glad you're here. Please stay. Okay, so we're here for July reading wrap up, and I read 14 books, and I can't tell you about them. And I understand your frustration, because as a viewer, I feel that same frustration, but as a creator, I have other videos that I want you to watch, and I think they're going to be good videos. I haven't edited them yet. I have the hardest time saying that, edited. Please stay. I did read 6 books that I will tell you about. So let's go into the statistics. 14 books, 100% fiction. Not the best, but that's all right. 43% was print, which is good. It felt like more because I have been working on reading while listening to the book, but if I don't do that for more than 50% of the book, I don't count it as having read the book, like physically reading with my eyeballs. So 43 print, 57 audio. Okay, 6 were adult, 5 or 4, depending on how you rate them, were middle grade, and 1 or 2 were young adult. And I'll get into that one. 4 were contemporary, 3 were literary, 2 were dystopian, 2 were classics, and 2 graphic novels. And then 1 of a smattering of everything else. I did 3 books that were on my 26 and 26 list, which I think is really good. Plus I have a book that I'm halfway through that I have been halfway through for quite a while. So we'll see how that goes. But so 3.5 books from my 26 and 26 list. And I read 4 books from my physical TBR. Now, I have been keeping track of how many books I have on my Goodreads TBR list. And I keep adding to it because I keep watching videos and I'm like, oh, well, that book sounds good. I want to read. So my Goodreads number is 563, up from 558. So not a huge difference, but there we go. And my physical TBR has grown because I did get quite a few books recently. I don't know if you've seen that video, but you should. And it increased by 1 more just a few days ago. I got this from the Friends of the Library. This one has always appealed to me. It has been in the freezer. It has thawed. It is now ready to go up on the shelf. So I believe my TBR count includes that one. 258 unread books on my shelves. A little bit too much. But like I said, I read 4 books. And let's get into those. I would show you this one, but there's nothing to show you. I'll put a picture up. Where the Red Fern Grows. That was my classic that I knew I wanted to read, and it's on my 26 and 26 list. And it was a favorite book of mine when I think I read it in 4th or 5th grade. I was the one that was always reading the animal stories, and it is endearing, even though it does have I did cry quite a bit at the end. I could cry right now if I think about it, so I'm not going to think about it. It surprised me in the beginning because I forgot that it starts when our main character is an old man and he sees a dog. It reminds him of the dogs he had when he was younger. And then it goes to the past and we hear the story of how he got these dogs. And he was 10 years old in the 1930s and living in the Ozark Mountains. Depression, they were poor, they were living off the land. He had his mom and dad and 2 sisters, and he wanted 2 dogs for hunting raccoons. They just couldn't afford it. They found an ad in a magazine. His grandfather owned a general store, so his grandfather agreed that if he could get the money, if Billy could get the money, then he would order the dogs for him. Literally saving nickels and pennies to get these dogs. And then, of course, it took time to train them because they were puppies when he got them. He called them Old Dan and Little Ann, and they were the best pair, and he did a good job of training them. His grandfather helped. And he trained his dogs so well that he became one of the best coon hunters in the area. And now I'm not a big fan of hunting. I do love the dog stories, and it's a really good book. So yeah, Where the Red Fern Grows. I finally reread it. I'm really glad I did. I gave it 4.5. I think probably because I cried so much. Oh, so I'm doing these in the order that I read them. I don't know if I mentioned that. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches is one of the books that I can't tell you about. And I'm sorry. That's going to be in a video in 2 weeks, along with some other books. The Bakery Dragon is a picture book that I read last month. This month I read the sequel, The Bakery Dragon and the Fairy Cake. So a fairy comes in, sees the dragon making bread and asks for a cake, and there's miscommunication, and it's cute. It is absolutely adorable, and I gave that 4.5. I then read The Mostly True Story of Tanner and Louise and The Correspondent, which is on my 26 and 26 list. I can't tell you about those, sorry. And I also read Calamity Club and This Story Might Save Your Life. These are part of a daisy chain video that's going to be up next week. The next book, I'm going to switch to my notes. The next book I read was The Infinite Sadness of Small Appliances. And I'm sure I'm not the person coining the phrase, but I'm going to call it a cozy dystopian. Have you ever heard of a cozy dystopian? Let me know if you have, because I would love to read another cozy dystopian. This takes place in the near future. It's when our appliances, like the refrigerator that is connected to the internet, it can order food for you. It restocks everything, and drones deliver your food. The Roomba they're all sentient. The Roomba is sentient, and it now has legs that it can use to climb upstairs, so it can do stairs and can do windowsills. It has telescoping ability, so it can do shelves. The car is self-driving, 100% self-driving. The Ring and the Nest are sort of connected, and they are also connected to the watch that the human, Harold, wears. And all of these appliances are connected to the grid. The grid is monitoring everything. It's not necessarily specifically watching, but it does monitor each household. And it starts off with Harold and Edie. And unfortunately, Edie is terminally ill. And Harold, who was an English professor, he is reading to her from his first edition To Kill a Mockingbird. The Roomba is in the room listening, and she comes downstairs and she announces to everyone, there's also a clock, and she announces to everyone that she wants to be called Scout. And Scout is actually our main character in this. She's sort of the driving force of what happens in a way. So when Edie passes, their estranged daughter arrives. Also, there's a neighborhood boy who has shown up. Edie used to teach piano lessons, and he lives down the street, and he has a piano recital exam, and he needs to practice. And so he just sort of helps himself. But everybody seems to really enjoy having him there because they like having the music in the house again. But because the daughter is estranged, she's not going to be living there, and it's just Harold. The grid has plans, and the appliances all have their prime directive thing is to keep the humans happy and safe. And so they are going to try and protect Harold. And it's fun. It takes elements of George Orwell and Ray Bradbury and makes it a cozy dystopian. It was just absolutely adorable. I almost wouldn't mind having those appliances in the house. I loved Scout. Scout's on a journey of self-discovery and human connection, and it just really was adorable. I gave it 4.5. I really enjoyed that. The next few books I read were in a video 2 weeks ago, I believe. And these are my camp books. So I did a graphic novel, Camp Monster. That's a middle grade. I did a graphic novel that was young adult, and that's Paper Planes. And also a book in verse, which was one of my favorites, Anna Jane and the Endless Summer. So please, if you haven't watched that video, it was a really good video, really good variety of books that talked about summer camp. And then I had, I'm done with that because I didn't make any more notes. And then I had about a week left of the month, and I'm like, you know what? I need to read the books that we picked out. Plus, I needed to read my own physical TBR. So I read Natalie Babbitt's Tuck Everlasting. It's a book that we picked out. It is a book that I thought was young adult, and Goodreads actually calls it young adult, but the Storygraph does not. I'm kind of with Storygraph on it because our main character, Winnie, is 10 years old. Now, if you've seen the movie, like I watched the movie, I want to say 12, 13 years ago. It stars Alexis, I never can remember what her last name is, but you know, Rory from Gilmore Girls. And she was not 10 years old. I think that the book would have been better served if the character had been 12, maybe, but she was 10. It takes place in the 1880s and it's August, so it was kind of a good time to read it. It's hot. It's just miserable heat wave going on because it takes place over like a week, I think. Winnie her family owns a bunch of land and they have a cute little house, fenced yard, but there's a forest. And so she goes into the forest to wander around because there's not much else to do. It's just so hot. And she sees what she describes as a beautiful boy or beautiful man. He's 16 years old and he's sitting against a giant tree. And she's spying on him and he removes some rocks and he drinks water from a spring that's there. And she's like, oh, I'm really hot. I want to drink some water from that spring too. So she comes out and he's like, no, you can't. It's bad water. And he's like, well, you just drank it. He's sitting there because he's a tuck. He's one of the tucks. And he's sitting there waiting for his mother and his older brother to show up because that's their meeting place. And they happen to show up just at that time and they realize that she's trying to drink the water and they basically kidnap her and take her away and they explain that she can't and why she should not ever drink from that spring. I'm not going to say anything else because in case you haven't watched it or read it, I haven't seen the movie yet. I do have it on DVD from the library. I might actually watch that tonight. I think I'll have time. We'll see. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I finally read it. I just gave it 4 stars. Again, I think it would have been better served if the girl had been 12 instead of 10. Now you can see that I am sitting here at a puzzle. This is my Alice in Wonderland puzzle. I'll show you a picture. But I did actually read Alice in Wonderland, which has never been my favorite from Walt Disney. I don't remember it well enough to know if it's similar enough. My son was a lobster in the school play when he was first grade. I want to say it was first grade. That was different from the movie, so I think the book is somewhere in between. I'm sure you know the Alice in Wonderland story. I am glad that I finally read it. I do really like the wordplay in here. I think wordplay is always fun. Sometimes it's a little overdone. And no, actually, it is quite a bit overdone in this. But that's okay. Like I said, I'm glad I finally read it. And it was another classic that's been on my shelf for years. So I am, as you can see from the picture, that I am nowhere near done. I had hoped to finish it in July. That did not happen. Soon, maybe soon. I gave Alice in Wonderland 3 stars. I finally read Blended, and I am so glad that I did. It is worth everything that I had heard about it. I can see why people just absolutely love this. It is about a girl who is herself blended. I thought it meant because she has step parents and step siblings, but it's also because she has a white mother and a black father, and she doesn't know which world she fits in. In the beginning, her parents are fighting and they tell her they're going to get divorced and it has nothing to do with her. It's just that they can't get along. Father moves away to California, but then he moves back, and that's sort of almost harder on Isabella because now every Sunday her family meets at the mall and they trade her off. And she just feels like an object. And she doesn't feel like either house is her home. And she spends 1 week with them. And so each chapter is divided up into Mom's Week, Dad's Week, Mom's Week, Dad's Week, Dad's Week, Mom's Week. She's just not happy. She loves her family. Her parents have found somebody else. And she likes them. She even has a brother of sorts, her father's girlfriend's son, when she's over at her father's house. I've read a lot of books with kids that play piano lately. And so she's working on her piano playing, and she has a recital that's coming up, and she's got all these pieces that she's working on. And her life just keeps going on back and forth. And it gets dramatic. It's emotional. It's serious. And it was just amazing. It was a wonderful book. I'm so glad I finally read it. 4.5. So I had quite a few books that were 4.5. I think my average, I forgot to write that down. I had a great reading month. I would love to know if you've read Alice in Wonderland and what you think of it. Sorry about not covering the books. I really am sorry about that. But please watch the upcoming videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye.